All right, we are going to continue our look at the brain as we are traveling down a highway or up the highway from the spinal cord on up into the brain. We've talked about this area here with the brain stem, with the pons, the medulla, the reticular formation, along with the cerebellum or the little brain. We're going to talk more about that in a minute, but we've talked about all this. This is going to be a short video because it's going to connect with what we talked about today to what the actual video you're going to watch later on. You're going to have two tonight, but it's going to connect what we talked about today with where the video is going to pick up with this evening or this second video. So, anyways, we're going to move on. I do want you to pay particular attention to this right here. Of course, hold on. Of course, this area here was what we've been talking about: the hindbrain with the pons, the reticular formation, the cerebellum, the medulla. All that area is known as the hindbrain. We're going to talk about the midbrain here in a little bit, and then in the forebrain after that. But the only thing we've not really mentioned is the reticular formation. You can think of this like the reticular rest stop. This is a group of fibers that carry stimulation related to sleep and arousal through the brain stem. The reticular formation kind of runs along this way, straight up and down. Here's another example of that right here. And again, you've seen this illustration before. Here's the pons, which is the bridge. Here's the medulla, this area in here. But the reticular formation is this blue area right in here. Pencil shaped. It's a bunch of bundle of nerve cells that forms the brain stem's core. And again, this is responsible for keeping the brain awake and alert. And again, it also monitors incoming sensory messages. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the thalamus, and it's located here in this area right here. It is think of this as like a room or a bed, maybe at the reticulate or at a rest stop or something. But it regulates consciousness, sleep, and alertness. So as you can see, a lot of these parts of the brain are involved in a lot of the same things. So, the reticular formation is relates with sleep. So does the thalamus. So a lot of these pieces sort of work together, and it's good to remember that. This thalamus is at the very top of the brain stem, and it lays actually near the center of the brain. It is like the central processing chip of a computer and directs all incoming and outgoing sensory and motor traffic, everything except for smell. So every little piece of information that your sensory neurons detect and fire, and they fire up through the spinal column, they will go through here, and also all the motor traffic with me talking, with me moving my hands, jazz hands, all that stuff is also being pushed through and processed through the thalamus. So the thalamus is your brain's, all of it's important, but your thalamus is kind of like the central processing chip, the A12 chip or whatever the new chip is in the new iPhones. But that's sort of it. A lot of things will not happen without the thalamus. So we've already talked some about the cerebellum, also known as the little brain. This coordinates voluntary movements and also balance, and is also an error control device. So what does that mean? Sometimes it's called the little brain. The cerebellum sits at the back of the brain stem and looks like a mini version of the brain. And it's about the size of a baseball. Actually, you usually have a baseball, but a little bit smaller than your fist. Actually, your brain itself is probably about the size of maybe a couple large fists. So baseball is going to be smaller than that. But it coordinates the brain stem with the higher parts of the brain to control complex movement without consciously thinking about it. When I tell you to stand up and walk, other than you actually hearing what I'm saying, the process of walking or dancing or drinking from a cup or straw are not, you don't really think about, hey, I have to pick this foot up and move it and put it down and have my heels roll or my foot roll from heel to toe. I don't have to, when I'm doing my fun little string dance, all right, I know you all love this, all right, I do it without thinking. I know or any sort of dance. I don't know if I was in the picture or not, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, it coordinates all those movements what the cerebellum does. So I think cerebellum is similar to cerebrum, which is the larger part. But think cerebellum, little brain. So again, cerebellum sits at the back of the base of the back of the brain. Here's your brain stem as it comes up and down through here. So, and this person is facing this way. So your eyes would probably sit about right here. Again, cerebellum controls most basic functions of movement and of life itself. Most of what it does is automatic and happens without consciousness. So in this picture, the person is looking this way. Again, here's your pons. Here's your reticular formation is going to be inside here. The medulla oblongata is going to be in there. All these things that basically keep us alive and that we don't have to think about doing. That's all automatic. So here's another video. Or not really a video, but I think it's a video. Yeah. So here's your spinal cord. As it comes up, it swells into reticular formation, the medulla oblongata. Your pons is going to be this area right here. Your thalamus is going to be up in here. And then here is your cerebellum. So that is the hind brain. Now we're going to get a little bit into the midbrain and the limbic system. All right. We'll start here. The layers of the limbic system not only process memories and regulate emotions, it is also involved in feelings of pleasure, pain, fear, and rage. And this is sort of, I think, what, we watched the video from the Water Boy talking about the medulla oblongata in alligators, and how that is sort of the basis of fear, rage, aggression, and all of that. I don't know a lot about the alligator brain, but as it pertains to humans, those are more controlled by the limbic system. So things, of course, here's a picture of a lot of the other pieces as well. We've talked about the pineal gland, talked about the pituitary gland. But we're going to talk about some of these other pieces as well and what they do. Here is an example of a brain that has sort of been cut in half down the middle. So here's your spinal cord again. Here's your medulla. Here's your pons. Reticular formation is not labeled, but it's down in here. Your cerebellum, your small brain. Here's your thalamus. All right, but now we're starting to see other parts as well. So now we're getting into the midbrain. You've got the hypothalamus here, the corpus callosum, which is sort of acts as another bridge that connects the two hemispheres, and we'll talk about that a little later. We've got a whole PowerPoint on the corpus callosum. And in the cerebral cortex, a sort of gray, spongy matter. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So, but at this point right here, the other video takes over. So, hope you all are having a good day. Again, I told you this would be short, and hopefully you're taking notes and are watching and taking care and doing the watch guides. We'll see you all later. Peace out.